Welcome everyone to today's conversation. We're so excited to get to talk to you today about homeschooling in high school. It's a really interesting part of your homeschooling journey, and we're really excited. My name is Monica. I will be your MC. I work here at HSLDA with HSLDA's Online Academy. I am the customer experience and marketing specialist, and it's really fun for us to get to interact with families at the academy. We really wanted to just share some of the knowledge that we have with all of you to make this a little easier for you. With me today is Lillie Schmidt. Lillie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Lillie. I also work for HSLDA Online Academy as the manager of academics and faculty. I'm a homeschool graduate, was homeschooled K through 12, and I am so excited to be with you guys today.
Wonderful. We also have LaNissir James with us. LaNissir, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, I also work with HSLDA in the high school department. I'm one of the high school educational consultants. I'm also a wife and a mom of 7. So a homeschool mom of 7, 2 kids have graduated. I have a senior this year. I have a 10th grader, an 8th grader, a 5th grader, and one who's new on the homeschool bus in kindergarten. So I'm excited to be with you guys.
Oh yeah, you span everybody there. So great. Well, yeah, so this is going to be a really just kind of casual conversation to just sort of talk about how homeschoolers do high school. It's the subjects are more complicated when you get to high school. You're getting ready, maybe for college, but definitely for that next phase in your student's life. And we just want to kind of give you a basic overview of how you can do that, and so that you don't feel it can be really overwhelming. All of us hear that a lot when you get to high school. I was also a all 12 grades homeschool grad, and my mom would talk about how people would just kind of lose steam when it got to high school. It felt really hard to make that transition. And so we hope that you come out of this realizing you have so many resources, and it's going to be a great part of your homeschooling journey. Yes. And we are really excited. We have a giveaway as well. Yes. Lillie, could you show us what we will be giving away?
We've got 3 books, so it's going to be one giveaway with 3 books. We've got actually one of my favorites, which is Strunk & White's The Elements of Style. We've got another book on style called The Elements of Eloquence, and this is more about how you say things. And then we've got a classic for you guys, which is Over Twist by Dickens.
So good. Those will be great.
Nice little pre-packet.
For sure. And so if you want to be entered into the giveaway, just put in the comments, how many students you are homeschooling in high school right now. Or if you don't have any high school students, how many you have and will anticipate homeschooling someday. That is also an acceptable answer. So go ahead and do that and make sure you can get in the giveaway. And so we'll just kind of open by talking about, we'll start with Lillie this time, to kind of tell me just about your homeschooling experience. Like what was high school like for you as a homeschool grad?
Sure. So I'm the oldest of 4. All 4 of us kids were homeschooled all the way through. My parents were, I really appreciated my parents' perspective, especially in high school, which was very focused on preparing us for whatever was next. And so my mom and I would meet throughout high school and kind of assess where I was and what classes I was taking. But the end goal was that I would be prepared to apply for college. And so we were actually working backwards and filling in things there. And it was they're very good about providing us opportunities and time to explore different interests and different areas that we were curious about. And so that's kind of the big picture of what it looked like for us.
Great. And what about you, LaNissir? You're a homeschool mom, as we just said, with all of those children. So what has that been like for you, especially about high school?
Yes, I love everything Lillie said. Sounds like your mom really just had the foundations of high school. You're really steady because that's it. You really want to prepare your child for the next step. That's really what it's all about. And beginning with the end in mind.
Yes,
I think a lot of people get nervous, like you were saying, Monica, about homeschooling high school because we look at this big picture. But if you spend more time identifying what or where your student's going to be after high school is over and work back, like Lillie said, you've got a recipe for success. So for some, it could be college, a 4-year college. Some, it could be a 2-year college. Some, it could be trades, militaries. There's so many different options. So beginning with the end in mind really will help you a lot.
For sure. Yeah. And something I loved about being homeschooled and that worked really well for us is that it was so you could get ready for college earlier. So we were looking to be college bound, and it was people would get to college and it's such an overwhelming experience. You have a lot of independence for the first time, and you're simultaneously trying to figure out how to learn on your own in maybe a way you're not used to in a traditional school, because it's much more structured. Whereas homeschooling, when you get to high school, it can be a lot more like college. Like I remember many days when we had, I was done by Friday morning because I had finished all of my other work because I knew how to work ahead. And that was really important in college. And the transition really wasn't hard. So that was something that I really valued, and that you can really do in high school homeschooling that may be harder in a traditional school.
Yeah, I so agree. I agree. That's so true, because you can model your strengths and your weaknesses while you're in high school, so if you like all your classes early, you can do them early. If you prefer them later, you can do them later. And I think that's the beauty of homeschooling, really trying to have what we call individualized education. That's exciting.
Exactly, for sure. Yeah. And so let's get into kind of the practical nuts and bolts of high school, homeschooling in high school. We'll start with you this time, LaNissir. Like, what are some of the ways that homeschoolers just do high school? What resources do they use? Is it all at home still? Are there outside resources? What did your family find worked?
Yeah, so homeschooling can be whatever you need it to be. There's times in our career. I have one homeschooler who's already graduated. She's graduated college already. And at the time, while she was homeschooling, she was also in sports. She was a junior Olympic gymnast, and she had a lot of time in the gym. And so I was able to cater her education around her sport. So if we were out late at a meet or something, we could start later. So it's always really exciting to kind of begin, like I said, with the end in mind with each student, because every student is different. Every student is different.
Yeah.
And I love something that Lillie said about the unique electives. I gave it a nice name. It's called unique electives. Okay.
There you go.
So, things that your student loves to do. Like I have a son now who is a rising sophomore. He's just started his sophomore year, and he's getting a construction management credit. And so he's doing all kinds of woodworking and building and working with his hands, while he's pursuing a college track heading in economics. And so that's what's nice. You can actually take each kid and find out, hey, what are you interested in? So for us, each child, and of course, we're the James family of 9. And so with 7 kids, you can imagine it's a little bit different for every child. My second daughter was she's in environmental science right now. And so her journey was different. We did biology classes on the beach, so just things that really help the homeschool high school student really get what I heard you guys say, a little bit of experience of where you want to go while you're in high school.
For sure. Yeah. What about you, Lillie? Tell us a little bit about, that from your perspective.
Yeah, our family was very similar too. And, when I was thinking about this, each of us 4 kids had a little bit different of an experience. So for myself personally, I did a little bit of co-ops, and the co-ops that we did, there was one I did that allowed me to experience theater for the first time, which was so much fun. And I ended up doing later in life from an educational route. And then my 3 other siblings were looking more at possible STEM majors. And so their sciences and math were a lot more rigorous. They were doing some outside courses with those. And then my youngest sibling, my sister, was really intrigued by graphic design and getting on the computer and doing things like that. And so my mom was able to find a graphic design class in the area that was a local class, and she was able to do that and then continue a little bit of that into college also, even though she decided not to major in it. But yeah, there's so many resources out there now for homeschoolers, and finding people in your community who can support you. One of the things my mom also did was when my sister was looking at, I think it was chemistry in high school, I had a friend who had graduated from college and who was preparing for her MCAT. And she's now a doctor and has graduated from medical school. But at the time, she really loved chemistry. My mom did not. And so
there you have it.
There you go. My sister got a great class from my friends, and my friend, I think, put it on her resume when she was applying to medical school too. And so it's really neat too when you can look at, your community and see how you can join in your community with the education journey.
Yeah. And can you explain what is a co-op exactly? Just for anybody, if they're just totally brand new, have no idea what that is.
LaNissir, you're involved in one right now, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm definitely the co-op woman. And so co-op is cooperative education. And in many cases, it's where parents come together and they teach the subject that they're passionate about. You teach chemistry, I teach PE, she teaches all of our kids art, and you come together in a cooperative setting to, support each other in homeschooling. And it's great. Just like Lily said, her mom hates chemistry. And so you find someone else because there's so many great resources out there. So not only can you look online, but you can also, like you said, look in your community. I have a co-op at our church. And so we support the community on all kinds of classes. And I cannot tell you how many times homeschool parents will come in and say, I'm so glad there's an art class here because I just can't color, cut, and paste anything. So in your community, it's a great place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many of those resources, and even more now than when Lily and I were being homeschooled, because you have online classes now, like we offer at the Academy. There's AP classes, which are really great. There's dual enrollment. And I feel like, so there's lots of different ways you can do these things along with, of course, co-ops and tutoring. And for AP classes, as people who may not know, that's the opportunity where you can take a class and an AP level class. It's certified by AP, and then eventually take the AP exam and potentially earn college credit as long as you get a high enough score on that. And then dual enrollment is when you enroll at a college and take a college class while you're in high school. So both of those are pretty popular options in the homeschooling community. I did dual enrollment growing up. My dad's a college professor, so that was a great option for us. I ended up being almost a sophomore by the time I hit campus, and that was great. The only small downside I would mention about there to keep in mind is they don't have to transfer those credits. So when I went to the university where my dad taught, and so it was perfect fit, but just keep that in mind that AP is a little more flexible, but both great options for homeschooling families.
Yes, I dual enrolled Star, my oldest daughter.
Okay.
And what was neat about her being dual enrolled is that as she went through her 4 years of college, when she was at the end of her freshman year, she qualified for all the interns. And so she was a 3-time intern while in college, because a lot of times you have to have so many credits, right? For interning while you're in college. So that's the nice thing, that if those credits transfer over, you're able to participate in more. And then a nice little caveat was that at the end, when the whole pandemic hit, she really was done with her classes. She could have graduated early. So she was taking an intern that last year. So it gives a lot of flexibility, dual enrollment, advanced placement, so that when you're in college, you can kind of navigate without the stress of, how am I going to get to these 120 credits in college and be done in 4 years, right? Isn't that the question you always have, right?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, no, all great options. And I want to mention, if anybody has any questions, we will have time for questions at the end. So besides, remember the giveaway. If you just joining us now, we will have a giveaway. We have these 3 books that we're going to be giving away. If you want to hold them up again real quick, Lily. And we'll all one giveaway, all 3. Just comment how many students you either have in high school that you're homeschooling right now, or how many you will at some point in the future. But if you have other questions besides that, just feel free to put them in the comments. We'll try to get to as many of those as we can. So moving forward, switching gears just a little bit, I think besides, the practical, what can families expect when they get to high school? What are some of the triumphs they can look forward to? What were things that you guys, Lily, starting with you, what did you enjoy the most about being homeschooled in high school?
So I'm going to go back to one of the comments LaNissir said about her daughter doing gymnastics. My family was also very big into sports. Mine was soccer. And then I also mentioned I did some theater too. But that was one of the really nice things about homeschooling, was it gave you that time to adjust your schedule. And I was playing competitive soccer too. So, those are some long evening practices. Those are travel games. So, our games could be anywhere from, a home game, which was like 15 minutes away, to I think maybe 5 hours away was maybe the longest one, or maybe it was 3 for me. But you had time to be able to commit to things like this and to explore things that you wouldn't necessarily I would have had the time to do so, and then meet people that you wouldn't necessarily have met otherwise, who are totally outside of your sphere of, or your circles in your community at that point in time. Another thing I really appreciated was the way that my parents helped us start taking on responsibility for our education and some ownership in choosing our classes with the end in mind, right? And
Yes.
so saying, for me, since I was looking at a humanities degree in college, I could play around a little bit more with the science and math. And when I took what with my, siblings who were looking at potential STEM degrees, they had a little bit more flexibility with the humanity classes that they were taking and a little bit more structure, advanced. They were looking at more advanced math in high school. And so that was one of the other really nice things, was being able to come alongside the journey and participate in the journey, as opposed to just having everything handed to me or told, here's what you're doing. And then when I got to college, some of those big decisions weren't quite as frightening because I'd already been able to make some decisions in a healthy, safe environment with my family supporting me and letting me, try things. And if it didn't work, well, then we'll try something else. So those are kind of two big things: the time to experiment and to focus on something that I loved, which was soccer. And then, the opportunity to grow in an area of ownership and responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah. What about you, LaNissir? Tell us a little bit about that question from your perspective.
Yeah, I love what you said, Lily. Everything I just thumbs up to. I think two areas I would add is relationship building and travel. When I think about just the relationship with my high schoolers, I'm so blessed to have a whole bunch of them. And it's just nice to get a chance to spend quality time with them where we're not so rush. It really takes the stress away. It helps you build a better relationship with your child. It gives a chance for you to observe them in a way where you normally would not have. I love the relationship building. And the second one is that you guys have heard, I've been doing some road schooling. So it's allowed us to travel. I love just being able to jump in our RV and get on the road and go different places, and lots of great field trips, and see life live. So history is just live all of a sudden. We spend a lot of time at the national parks and going all over. We just came back from Myrtle Beach. We're headed to Kentucky. Yay!
Oh,
fun! So just it gives, I think, when you're in high school, you want to get out and see the world. You do. And I think that that's a great way to grow. And so what's nice about homeschooling is that it doesn't have to happen at your kitchen table. It doesn't have to happen from 9 to 3. You can really individualize it. And so we've been known to school in all different places in all different states. And so it's exciting.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And another thing that when you guys were talking, that I was thinking about is just how like homeschooling in high school, it allows you to learn at a pace that where you can take a job too. That's really exciting. Like, because I remember that, a lot of times you can only work after school after 3, but if you're homeschooled and with a friendly employer, I suppose, I guess you could maybe say someone who wouldn't take kids before this, but generally they're fine. If you have flexibility, you are more interesting to your employer then. I mean, you can now work 9 a.m., Wednesday and Thursday, and then Monday and Tuesday and Friday, you can do your homeschooling. It's great. That's a great aspect about being homeschooled. I know that I also really liked in my family just building those relationships for longer with my parents too. That was great. Kind of like LaNissir was mentioning, we just found that to be, I'm the youngest, so my siblings were mostly gone by the time I was in high school, but that was just a really great thing to still have that there, and all of that flexibility. It was really important and exciting. And I liked how I learned how to do, like, to sort of repeat from what I said before, college prep earlier. I just knew all of that by the time I got to college, and it just made it so much easier, which was a really exciting part about being homeschooled in high school.
Yes. And I have to mention, like my son, similar to what you were saying, Monica, he's into construction management. And so he's going to be on a job kind of as an apprentice or intern. And, of course, the first guy he said, well, isn't he in school? I was like, well, he's homeschool. And so I'm able to adjust his schedule around an opportunity that he can learn his trade even better just by being able to be alongside of someone who works during the day. So there's so many great opportunities out there for kids who have an individualized schedule.
For sure. Awesome. Absolutely. And although there's many great things about being homeschooled in high school, every wonderful thing has some challenges. So starting with you, LaNissir, what are some challenges that you've observed either with your own family or with families you've been consulting for at HSLDA? What are some things you can expect to happen?
Yeah, so the transcript. I think when we think about challenges, the subject of the transcript comes up, right? Because and one of the resources that we have in the high school educational office is that we offer a free transcript service. So that's a wonderful reason to be a member of HSLDA, because you have experts and another eye on the transcript. And I think when the challenge can be that if we wait too long to begin our transcript, then so many years have gone by and you forget that this transcript is going to go on the desk of someone's admission. So it's important that you really get clear about what you want it to say on paper, because one of the things I say is that one, the best gift you can give a graduating high school student is a transcript. And the other thing is that you can't talk over it. Like you can't explain, so when it goes on someone's desk, it doesn't go with mom. So mom can't explain it. And so what you look like on paper matters. And so if I say, like my second daughter who's interested in environmental science, you want that to be known on the transcript. So she did things like biology and advanced biology and marine biology and environmental science, so that it sends a message to wherever it's going. So Monica, one of the challenging areas is waiting too long to do that transcript, or again, not beginning with the end in mind and not having your transcript say and display who that child is, who that homeschooler is. So
for sure. Yeah. And what about you, Lily? What are some things you remember that were challenges?
Well, as a homeschool graduate, I just have to give a shout out to my mother.
Hey, Mom.
Because you're doing life together, right? So you're living together, you're working through things together, which means, and in high school, I was probably not always the easiest person to be around in high school. So, just to be kind of real here, sometimes dealing with attitudes is just a part of the learning process. But on the good side, to go back to something both of you said, being able to work through that and talk through that with my mom and my dad for different issues, that gave us a great foundation to the relationship we have now. And even when I have interacted with other people, when you come against or have something that you disagree on, just taking a step back and say, okay, well, let's just talk about this and not get emotional about it. But yeah, just to be real.
Yeah.
High school, you're working through a lot in high school.
Yeah.
And so, having, patience and figuring things out on both ends, it's a very good thing.
Yes. And somebody who was also a homeschool grad, again, I had those unfortunate testy moments with my mom, especially when we did math. That was not fun. But I think that part of that, though, I think, and this is both a challenge, I think, and a triumph in some way, like making room for your students to grow in another way. I mean, that's both really rewarding, I think, to see as a parent, because you're getting to watch them engage in a new, mature way with material, ask harder questions, look for tougher things, stretch their boundaries, which is a hard thing as a parent for sure. But if you can help shepherd them, which is something that you can do really well in homeschooling, if you can kind of just get through those tough times, it makes it really great on the other end when you've kind of watched them go all the way through that. So I remember my mom did not like teaching math. And so we had a tutor, kind of like with chemistry, we had a tutor when I hit those advanced math classes. And what was interesting, I think, to some extent, is I was better at it than we thought I would be, at least for algebra. I didn't like geometry, but I was better at algebra than we thought I would be. And I think it was kind of cool for my mom to kind of see that with somebody who knew more about this than she felt comfortable herself doing, I was able to kind of thrive, and it took a lot of that tension away. So again, the outside resources, there are people you can go to, even when stuff seems challenging or anything like that, is great.
finding someone that's passionate about something, like my friend teaching chemistry, or your son with construction, like that gives you as a student and as a high schooler just a new appreciation for what you're studying, even if it's something that you are not originally interested in or excited about.
For sure. I'd like to give a shout out to Erin. I see a comment over here. She says that it was fixed by college. Really. she feels very confident.
So Erin.
Thank you to Erin for that. Now I think we should do our giveaway. One last time. If you want in the next 10 seconds, what do we have again, Lily? What are the books that we're giving away?
It's going to be one bundle of 3 books. We've got one of my favorites, which is Elements of Style. We've got Elements of Eloquence, and we've got a classic Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens.
Okay, well, all of those, one giveaway. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and put in the comments either how many students you are currently homeschooling in high school, or how many you will be once you get there. And if we'll give that 10 more seconds, and then we'll draw it and we'll go from there. In the meantime, we do have a couple questions from particularly on record keeping. And you touched on this a little, LaNissir, but if you could expand. One person, Erin, hi again, Erin, asks, do you get started with the transcript program at the start of high school or with HSLDA, or do you just keep records and bring those to HSLDA to format towards the end? How does that work?
Yeah, well, we're here for you. And the earlier you start, the better. So if you're a 9th grader, call us. If you're an 8th grader, call us. If you're a 10th grader, call us. If you're an 11th grade, call us. And if you are in high school, please hurry up and call us. Right? You're in 12th grade, right? So, but 9th grade, what I do like about the parent who takes the time to start early, it gives us all opportunity to have a conversation going forward. You know how we talk about those individualized electives and things and what we want it to look like at the end. So the sooner you call, the more you can take the feedback you're getting from us and execute it. You think about that, right?
Yeah.
If you contact us early, it really will make a big, big difference. So the sooner the better.
Yeah, for sure. Anything you'd add to that, Lily?
Something to think about too. My dad was in charge of the transcripts with our family, and he would actually sit down with us a couple of times and talk through the transcripts with us and say, this is what's going on your transcript. Are there things that you feel for what you're thinking about doing after high school that would be applicable for the transcript? And so we would talk through, what are things I was interested in? What were things that I was pursuing? Was there a class that I did not have or I did not bring to him? Or, so again, it went back to my parents bringing me on the journey. And then I understood too the value of a transcript and too some of the power that a transcript holds.
Yes.
And it wasn't this strange piece of paper that just listed, my grades. So,
and if you are a parent who really does not like paperwork, my mom hated paperwork. It was the worst part of anything she ever does, but especially homeschooling. I remember one quarter, it was the 3rd quarter, and we did one of those distance programs. So we were signed up with a homeschooling curriculum and we sent our stuff in, and she hadn't sent in, I think, 1st quarter yet. And I was like, Mom, can I do it? Can I just do it? And she insisted that she really felt like that was her responsibility. But but if you are, it's possible to graduate homeschooled kids even when you don't like paperwork. My mom had 4. She never liked paperwork. She still hates paperwork. And for her, she had to get a more set curriculum, a kind of that was important for her in order. It would have been too much for her. And that's fine. Again, we all went to college. 3 out of the 4 of us have advanced degrees. It is possible to do that no matter that.
And I have to add, we do have our HSLDA transcript service. So if you're the person who says, you know what, I hate paper, you can actually have it. I believe it works on your phone. So it's a way that you can kind of plug it in, and we'll take care of you. If you just go on our website, you can get the HSLDA transcript service. And if it had existed when you were coming up, Monica, your mom would have loved it, because it's a no-brainer, no paper, just it really makes life easy. And we'll review those too if you're a member. So that's great.
Yes. So exciting. So exciting. Well, if there are no other questions,
I did see a question
did you see
earlier.
one more? Where was it?
It was way at the beginning, and I caught it out of the corner of my eye, and I saw it because I totally felt for this parent. She asked something along the lines of, how does she support her student, her high school student, there it is,
Oh, yeah.
who
Yeah.
has no idea of where or what they want to do or where they want to go, and how to help guide them and guide their education in that
Yeah.
situation. So
Yeah.
I can definitely speak to that. When I was in high school, I had no idea, honestly, what I wanted to do after school. I knew college was next, but other than that, I didn't know what I wanted to study in college or what I wanted to do after college. And after a couple, moments where the testy side of me was coming out, my dad asked the question that totally changed the conversation in my mind. So instead of, because we tend to ask high schoolers, what do you want to do? What do you want to be?
Mhm.
Who are you going to be after, and make it into this, which is good and all, but it was just a lot of pressure
Yeah,
for,
yeah.
17-year-old me. And my dad changed the conversation. He asked me the question, what do you want to study? And I realized, oh, well, college is an opportunity for me to study something that I love
Mhm.
for 4 years. And so at that point, one of the things that I really loved is storytelling.
Mhm.
And I had done a journalism camp in high school and knew that journalism and deadlines were probably not my best feature. But I really love literature. And so I was able to find a program that had a literature major, and absolutely loved it. And then just, my parents, again, we worked backwards. And so the goal was have me prepared for college. So no matter what I ended up doing or where I was led to go, I would be prepared for the requirements that college had. And so we worked backwards. And then by the time I hit senior year, where I was like, okay, so I want to study literature, that really helped narrow the conversation down
Mhm.
to, okay, so these are the colleges with programs that have literature majors.
Mhm.
And then, it just kind of kept going from there. So, but how do you do it, LaNissir, with, do you have you had any children who have had to think through, ambiguity of, interests or,
Mhm.
what's next, and how do you support them?
Absolutely. This is a very common question, and it's a valid question, for kids who, may be coming into homeschooling and, you didn't have that flexibility to have this individualized education, or you're new to the whole concept of this unique electives. And I think understanding personality really helps. You'll have your introvert, you'll have your extrovert, and some of the things that they like to do. Are they good with their time, a judger or a perceiver? So I love, some great personality assessments to assist students to kind of figure out what they like, right? Like nobody wants a TV talking job if you're an extreme introvert, right?
Right.
You're like, let me throw, so you want to kind of balance it out to the personality. And I think that helps. And, so I talk to a lot of members about that. And God is so good because he'll give us a child that may be different than us. I could be an extrovert and then I'll have introverted children or vice versa. And so some of those things will really help you kind of see what they enjoy doing. Like I had a daughter who is extremely good in art. I mean, that's just not my thing. Like you don't want me to color, cut, and paste anything for you. Because homeschooling allows us to expose, our kids to different things and different people, at our choice. She was able to build, the things that she loved doing. And it may be something that I was not as, kind of like that chemistry conversation. It's like, I'm just not good at that. Right. So, so really just paying attention to their personality and seeing what they love to do, no matter if it seems recreational. You'll be surprised how some of the things recreational they love to do could turn into careers that they love to do as well.
Right.
Yeah, I think, I love that the pivot kind of that your dad gave Lillie and LaNissir expounded on about just kind of figuring out how your love of learning can be kind of translated into a college or a career is, I think, really important. And then also somewhat maybe just breaking down, like, if you love literature, like what kinds of majors, or if you love English, what kinds of majors are there out there in college if you are college bound, or what sort of careers can you do? I have a master's in English literature and I do marketing now. So like it's helpful to kind of, if you're trying to figure out, okay, if your student's good at this, what does it look like, in college, or what does it look like after college, or if you don't go to college? I feel feel like if your student doesn't know, you can kind of pivot it to these sort of, you can take something that's very general like English and make it point by point practical, like where can you take those skills as well? And that might help your student. I don't like education that's just obviously, like I think your dad sort of pointed out, what are you going to do with it? More like, what do you want to learn? But you can build those two together by also figuring out what types of jobs or careers or vocations does this level of learning help you get into. That can be a helpful way to kind of frame the conversation as well.
Right. You're kind of just like throwing a net out there so that you can capture the student no matter where they fall. You kind of have this net and you're saying, you know what? Let's get our sciences in, let's get our maths in, let's get our histories in. And so it catches a net so that if they end up at a 2-year college or a career or a 4-year college, they have what they need in order to launch. And so that's really, so for the mom who posted, just kind of go as far as you can see, do what they enjoy doing, give them electives that they love. And eventually, as they get older, you'll see a bit of a pattern of things that they enjoy doing. And then that's the area they probably should look at pursuing.
For sure. And then we'll have time for just one more question. We're almost out of time, but I did see one question about special needs in high school when you're homeschooling. I know you are not a special needs consultant, LaNissir, but if you could talk about that just briefly, about like what a mom who has that kind of that student with special needs or whatever they may be, what they should do. What's the first steps?
Yes, I get the absolute privilege to work alongside of some of our special needs consultants, Joyce Blankenship and Dr. Rochelle Somerville and Faith Baring. All of these guys are amazing in special needs. Well, many of them have their own high schoolers and have some specialty in high school. And I think sometimes that's the beautiful thing about having membership and being able to connect with the educational consultants, because the special need is very individualized to the student, and what and how it shows up in high school is going to be very individualized as well. We can help you with curriculums and careers and strategies of how to help your special needs high school student launch and do the things that really helps them grow. So these guys are amazing. I have a son who is in speech pathology, and so I was able to share some of what his assessment said in speech pathology, and I was given so many different apps, so many different ways that I can assist as well, with his speech pathology. He is working with stuttering and how I could help him. And it was so exciting, and it's freeing too when you're working with a special needs student. So please definitely reach out to us. We're happy to support.
Yeah. And the only thing that I would add to that is homeschoolers do homeschool students in high school that have special needs. This happens a lot. It happens all the time. It's not impossible. And I've heard a lot of homeschool moms say that it was easier, that maybe they brought them home after they were in school, and it was simpler than having to figure out all of the different ways that it worked in the system. It requires, obviously, some personalization to that student, but guess what? That's the best part of homeschooling. It's always personalized to the student, as we've been talking about. So just to sort of say, our consultants are great resources, but this is possible. They do it. It's great. Anything to add to that, Lillie?
No, I think you guys summarized it beautifully.
Wonderful. Well, we have our giveaway winner, and it is Angel Gaddis. I hope I pronounced your last name right, Angel Gaddis. But congratulations. We hope that you and your students love these 3 books. We will reach out to you, so we'll send you a message about how to get them to you. And we're so excited that you get to enjoy these 3 wonderful books that we all love so much. And that brings to the end of our conversation. Thank you for everybody for joining us. Thank you, Lillie. Thank you, LaNissir. And have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye.